What's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Conference USA Dynasty here exclusively on EA College Football 25. We have ourselves a banner type of day as all 10 teams of the Conference USA is involved in today's episode. And getting a lot of love here early on in this 2025 season, as we have every single one of our Conference USA games here for week number 3. They are all going to be nationally televised, so it's going to be a really fun one here. Really looking forward to seeing if Liberty can continue to be ranked in the top 25, and would be awesome if we could pull some upsets against a power conference school as well. Haven't beaten a power conference team outside of Kennesaw State's win against Wake Forest in simulation. Love to see if we can make that happen here in gameplay, but have a lot of game to watch in this episode, and I hope you guys are excited for the whole thing, man. If you are, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into all of the games, starting with our 11:30 matchup between Jacksonville State and the Georgia Southern Eagles. Alright boys, so let's go ahead and get the week 3 super action officially underway. Going to be featuring almost every single Conference USA team in this episode, as you saw in that preview. And we'll get things started here with the earliest kickoff that we have on this Saturday morning. We got Jacksonville State making the short drive down to Statesboro, Georgia, in order to take on this Georgia Southern Eagles squad. Now, this Georgia Southern team is off to a slow start, 0-2 to begin the year, but as you can see, lots of fans in the stands for this one, for this key non-conference game. Georgia Southern, this is their last game that they have before they start Sun Belt Conference action. Where Jacksonville State, this is their last non-conference game as well. Going to be looking to finish 3-0 going into Conference USA, led by Zion Turner, who's had a resurgent season trying to stay on his feet, but he gets brought down for a 20-yard loss on a 3rd down. That almost kicks him out of field goal range, or at least at the bare minimum, right? It is going to make it far more difficult to make this field goal. We're talking about maybe a 30 to 35 yard field goal, and now we're talking about at least like 45. Looks like it's 44-yard field goal officially. Certainly not a gimme for your average college kicker, which he certainly fits the bill for that bit of mediocrity. However, this time around, he does sink it through, and that's going to be the first points of your episode. Jacksonville State is going to take a 3-0 lead. But we'll go ahead and jump a little bit deeper into the second quarter. We saw Jacksonville State tack on another field goal, but still waiting for that explosive play, but it's going to happen for the other team. The other team is going to get the ball recovered in Georgia Southern, who has struggled tremendously in these first couple of games of the season. Well, they are going to have a chance to take their first lead of the 2025 season, because they are down inside the 10-yard line after recovering the fumble, where a couple of plays later, a nice little slant pattern over the middle is going to provide for an easy touchdown. And with that, Georgia Southern, after a successful extra point, by the way, they are going to be able to go ahead and they will briefly take the lead before Jacksonville State does kick another field goal. But, you know, Georgia Southern, they're on their side of the 50, a chance to possibly take the lead, but they throw an interception. Just going to go ahead and stop in his tracks and go ahead and take this one into halftime. This has not been a very well played first half by Jacksonville State whatsoever. However, with that being said, at least at the bare minimum, what we do get to see is that Jacksonville State will have the lead. Here's the thing, you know, you're not always going to have your fastball every single day, and the Gamecocks certainly don't have it here in his first half after Zion Turner has had an amazing first couple of games. However, the ground game might be waking up here a little bit down the sideline, and he is gonna be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown Gamecocks! and Jacksonville State will finally retake the lead here with 11-12 left to play here in this third quarter of action. There's a Georgia Southern faithful down here in Statesboro. Simply cannot believe that the freshman Andre Devine was able to get loose like that. I mean, beautiful blocking by the way down the sideline. And the rest was history after that, just using that top line speed in order to get himself into the end zone. But that's not all here, though. They're actually going to try to go for the 2-point conversion, trying to make this a 7-point game so that they can't lose off a touchdown if this is the only time that they score. However, Zion Turner does get sacked in the backfield, and so the 2-point conversion is actually going to be unsuccessful, matter of fact. And so Elijah Lacey is the one that's able to create that disruption. However, Georgia Southern can't do anything. They go 3 and out on their next drive, but they put the ball on the ground yet again, and the Eagles recover. You know, just a sloppy game here for Jacksonville State, and that is going to continue the second time that they put the ball on the ground here in this game. But Georgia Southern, even though they start at around midfield, can't do anything of note there. They had to settle for a field goal, and now it's just a 2-point difference. But that is going to increase significantly, I would imagine, as Zion Turner puts it right on the money for Andre Devine on the wheel route. That's just what happens when you have plenty of time to sling that thing. As now, 2nd and goal now inside the 5-yard line. It's a direct snap, and they were just unprepared for it. Jacksonville State finds the end zone. Another quick touchdown for the Gamecocks as this offense starting to wake up after having to settle for field goals only in the first half. We finally see this offense find the end zone a couple of times in the second half, as Andrew Paul was the one that handled the direct snap. Now, late in the third quarter of action, Georgia Southern trying to answer back as J.G. French finds up in the pistol, drops back. He's got some time, but look at the scramble up in the pocket. Linebacker's a little bit slow to react. He was there on the contain, but simply was not fast enough or reacted quick enough in order to bring down J.C. French. And so with that, Georgia Southern gets on the board yet again, and that's been a common theme here in this first game of this episode. Just when you think Jacksonville State was going to pull away, seems like Georgia Southern always has an answer, really trying desperately to avoid that 0-3 start for sure. As now we'll jump late into the game. Jacksonville State does pull away yet again, down by 11, as the Eagles get behind the defense one more time, finding the end zone, and it's a touchdown for Georgia Southern. And even though this Eagles squad does not have any more timeouts, what I will say is that things just get extraordinarily interesting, as it was Ontavious Murray who was able to get behind the coverage there. Didn't even need that good of a ball because he was fat, wide, butt naked open there. I would imagine that this Eagles offense will also go for the 2-point conversion. We'll see if J.C. French got it in him. As now, French is going to drop back, fires over the middle, and that was just simply man coverage. Good there on the inside slot. And now it's a 3-point game, but they need the onside kick to be recovered, but it isn't. Jacksonville State will recover the fumble, and the Gamecocks are going to survive here on the road. They are going to come out and win this one 31-28, as Andre Devine does end up getting named your player of the game with those 11 carries for 122 yards and finding the end zone as well. Both teams put together good offensive performances as they both put together more than 400 yards of offense. But Jacksonville State just came out with better plays, and we're going to hope that this is a good sign for the rest of our conference, at least for those that are playing in conference or non-conference matchups, as we now cut over into Miami, Florida, where we see the home of Pitbull Stadium, sponsored by, yes, Pitbull himself, one of the more iconic artists back in the early 2010s, late 2000s. But this FIU team, even though they have the backing of Mr. Worldwide, has not been able to get off to a fast start. 0-2 to begin the year so far. They will take on their non-conference rivals in Florida Atlantic, dating back to when these two teams shared the Sun Belt together in the early 2000s, late 90s. Now, with that being said, we'll go ahead and get things underway as the rival Owls are going to swoop in for the first touchdown of this rainy afternoon down in Miami, Florida, as the Owls will take a 7-0 lead here in this first quarter of action. And really a methodical drive that did not have very many big plays, but Sabari Mobley is going to finish the job, as that will take away half of the first quarter right away. And FIU simply has a hard time responding. They only managed to get a field goal, as the score still is pretty close, 7-3 your score, but midway through the second quarter, though, we will see Florida Atlantic find the end zone yet again, as Coleman, just getting a little bit of a mesh concept, and nobody was really covering him. That's why, those mesh concepts, regardless of whether you run man or most zone coverages, that's difficult to defend unless you know that it's coming. And yeah, that's going to be an easy first touchdown for this FAU squad, who looks like it's on the verge of pulling away, but an untimed down here at the end of the half, so just going to take a shot. Don't have nothing to lose, and look at this, they catch it off the tip. Oh my goodness, Maurice Jr. with the first touchdown of the day for Florida International, and Mr. Worldwide is getting up and going crazy as a sophomore gets this Panthers team right back in it. And all of a sudden, we have ourselves a game after thinking to ourselves originally, hey, this could be a blowout. But that is certainly not going to happen. Or at least, we hope not it's going to happen. Otherwise, that announcer Jinx is going to go absolutely insane. As here we are late in the third quarter of action. Dominique Henry able to make a big play and get the Owls into the end zone, giving them a 24-17 lead going into the final quarter, where Keontae Owens got plenty of time, but drifting into the end zone. Oh, baby, what are you doing? You cannot take it at a sack in the end zone. But Keontae Jenkins, who should know better, by the way, this is not his first year starting. They're going to be now down 26-17, and not only that, but the Owls get the ball back, so they could do a little bit of double dipping if it wasn't for the defense standing tall in those critical moments of the ball game, man. Oh, man, that they really needed that one. Now, it's still going to be a two-possession game, but at least, 29-17, you can get a couple of touchdowns strung together. You could still go out and win this instead of it being, say, oh, I don't know, it could possibly have been a three-possession game deciding on what they do after they found the end zone. Also forcing a long field goal attempt as well. This is a 52-yarder, but it is laced through. And so FAU does tack on points after the safety. However, it's not too many more points, so still a 12-point game. But at some point, Florida International absolutely has to wake up. And maybe this is the spark to do it. Getting an interception in the fourth quarter and getting it all the way down in Owl territory. Oh, this is exactly what they needed in this juncture of the ball game. A big-time interception by Blades the second, as that is one of the top players on this Florida International roster. And that senior is certainly making an impact. But now, Keontae Jenkins got to create something here on this third and long. Jenkins dropping back. He fires to the back of the end zone. And it's caught. He mussed him in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers. And Mr. Worldwide is officially back. Grittying on your ass as Lewis is going to find the end zone. And waiting to see what they decide to do. Looks like they might settle for the extra point, because they're already only going to be down by 5, and they go for the extra point. The 2-point conversion really doesn't change anything. They'll still need a touchdown. And so after FIU gets a field goal, we need to see Jenkins create a little bit one more time, drifting back, looking for someone to throw the ball to, and the pocket gives up. And I have no idea if they're going to be able to get this pass off in time. They're not going to remotely be close, and the game is over. Florida Atlantic is going to take down their rivals on the road in Florida International 32-24. Certainly was an exciting ball game to get through, as the Shula Bowl is going to fall for Florida Atlantic. As Zabari Mobley had a big game, 26 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. They had that first touchdown of the game. And this was also a game in which Florida Atlantic actually thoroughly outplayed Florida International. However, the untimely interception in the fourth quarter did help make things a lot more interesting. But now we get into one of the more difficult games of the season, not just for UTEP in specifics, but also for just in general the entire conference, right? So UTEP's got to go on the road. They're taking on number 6 Texas, and you already know Texas has those aspirations. You know, get yourself to not only the college football playoff, but try to make a deep run in the college football playoff. Meanwhile, UTEP, you know what happened to UTEP last season, finished 3-9 in the 2024 campaign, just trying to grow this young roster that is filled with the most highly touted freshman class in the conference. They didn't do nearly as well in the portal, just taking a more of a traditional rebuild approach. And we're going to possibly see some of these young guys go to work on Quinn Ewers, who does end up returning back for his senior season. And there's one of those young guys in Kofi, who's just a sophomore, able to get a sack on the quarterback. But with that being said, can this UTEP's defense stand tall for an entire 60-minute escapade? As we already know that Texas, you know, they have all those blue chip guys on the roster, while UTEP, you know, they don't have that same, you know, quality of talent. You know, Texas got Jimmys and Joes. We're just happy to share the same field with them. But hey, kudos to this UTEP squad, able to force a couple of sacks on the opening drive and forcing at least to get them to settle for a field goal there. So, I mean, you absolutely love to see that. However, you see the talent is undeniable, though, as this is the part where we start to really see Texas pull away. I mean, that is just world-class speed when you got track stars like that in the backfield. And keep in mind, this Baxter guy was somebody that was like a 3rd or 4th string guy last year, right? And now here he is, just simply stepping up after the departures of like Javion Blue and others. And Blue just runs away from the entire UTEP football team. And that's why it's so important to have that gap discipline at all times. As now, 3rd and 6 for UTEP. They're trying to put together some kind of drive here before the end of the half, just to create some kind of momentum. Wofford does have some time to send it deep and somehow catches it in double coverage. And it sets up UTEP to try to run it in from 2 yards out. And they will do precisely that. Dolphin diving into the end zone. And that being said, Ezekiel Jowie, the freshman running back. Imagine this, one of the notable players on this freshman class, making an impact right away. And that being said, UTEP will get themselves on the board here down in Austin, Texas. And we'll see if they can put together some more plays like that throughout the afternoon. But with that being said, our spirits get crushed right before the end of the half, potentially, as Texas drives all the way down onto the goal line, forcing them to at least settle for another field goal, but really wanted to come in with like a 10-point differential, you know, trying to get multiple touchdowns on this Texas defense when they come in as a 91 overall. That's a hard sell, so the field goal definitely hurts, but hey, at the very least, though, we do get the ball to start this second half. We'll see what they can do with it as Wofford facing the blitz, but doesn't make a quick decision, though, and it's going to be dropped in the backfield. You got to get rid of the ball quickly if you're facing a blitz. because your offensive line is not going to hold up long term against Texas. I'm sorry, that's simply not going to happen. But you know what? Mistakes were made, and then we had to punt the football away. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself right now, why am I showing special teams? Because special things happen on special teams, and we get one here as Texas gets itself a rare special teams touchdown as Mobley able to take it down the sideline, and it's going to take it right back to the crib. Touchdown for the Texas Longhorns. And I think we're finding out the hard way why this Texas team is the number 6 team in the nation, as Ryan Niblett, just a special teams specialist, for lack of a better term, able to go ahead and find the end zone there. But, you know, the Longhorns get a little cocky here. They're going to go for 2 here, even though 27-7 would certainly suffice. Guess they are definitely intent on trying to ram it down our throats, but we deny them at the goal line. Baxter has nowhere to go, and so we at least stopped the 2-point conversion, but the victory is short-lived because UTEP is forced to go 3 and out, and Quinn Ewers is going to find Moore Jr. in the front pylon. And yeah, that's going to be another touchdown for Texas. Honestly, this is kind of the result that I was expecting to see. I mean, yes, this UTEP team I absolutely believe is better than last season, but it just goes to show that we have a long way to go before this UTEP team can match the freeze point, so to speak, against one of the top teams in the country. And this is very evident of that, as the Longhorns will tack on another touchdown just for to get that even 40 burger, as it looks like Texas, unless something absolutely insane is going to happen, well, it looks like they're going to remain undefeated. While UTEP, on the other hand, you know, got some things that we need to work on. We had some bright moments, you know, had that touchdown in the second quarter. We even managed to get a few sacks, but yeah, in this second half, this Texas offense definitely woke up. 30 unanswered, including 10 more points in the fourth quarter after the backups came into the game. But with that being said, speaking of those Power 5 opponents, we'll now check in on Kennesaw State, who really surprised me in terms of its improvement. You know, a lot of the current guys that were on the roster left over from last season, they really put in that work in the offseason. And so they'll take on a Colorado team which is in its first year, you know, without a couple of their top players like Travis Hunter and Shadir Sanders, who have both since moved on to play in the NFL and get that kind of opportunity. And well, they are actually similarly matched, at least from like an overall standpoint. Now, Kennesaw State has already beaten one Power 5 school in Wake Forest, right? They have at least accomplished that already, but can they do it a second time, and can they do it on a national television environment? That's going to be the million-dollar question, but so far it looks like this Kennesaw State team, they are actually very much ready to play, and they are going to come out here midway through the first quarter and actually get the first touchdown on the board after Colorado had to settle for a field goal on their opening drive of the ball game, as Quay Ashley, the junior tailback, does a nice job following the blockers and finds the end zone on that regard. And eventually Kennesaw State builds up a decent lead for themselves. They build a 10-3 lead here, as now Colorado looking to get back into the game, and this is just a beautifully thrown ball to someone that's significantly faster than who Kennesaw State happens to have on the back end. How that ends up being caught, I mean, I have no idea. That's just a tremendous amount of trust to throw it to the freshman receiver like that. But the safety was actually in good position, but you know, at the last second, you know, just found that little bit of a speed burst. And you know, the rest is history there. So Colorado does end up tying it up, and we might see them go on a little bit of a run here as we get into midway in the second quarter of action. Colorado trying to set up the screen. It is successful, and it is, in fact, going to be a walk-in touchdown. Nobody touching the nice tailback, as the Buffaloes will finally take the lead. And I'm sure this crowd here at Folsom Field, you know, is feeling a little bit of anxiety after they dropped their first game of the season losing to Kennesaw State certainly would hurt their pride a little bit, so they're trying their best to avoid that. But yeah, a nice touchdown there by Dallas Hayden. However, last minute left here in this first half of action, as we'll go ahead and see Colorado go to work one more time as they get beat deep again. Kennesaw State just seems allergic right now to stopping those explosive plays. I mean, what are we actually doing here, man? We cannot, and I mean absolutely cannot, have those kinds of breakdowns in the secondary. Omarion Miller able to get behind the defense there, man, and get a big time touchdown as a result of it. And so with that being said, it's going to be 30-10. So remember when Kennesaw State was in the lead and they actually had like a decent 7-point lead? Oh yes, Pepper Ridge Farms certainly does remember. But with that being said, now we're seeing the Owls team fall apart here on the road, and that's why it's so difficult to come out and play in a power conference environment on the road as well, especially if you're not used to it like Kennesaw State is, who's still adjusting to the grind of the FBS level, as Kennesaw State's field goal attempt is up, and it is going to be good. And so Kennesaw State does get a few more points on the board, but they can simply never catch up to this Colorado squad as Colorado wins 36-13. Ponder, who's starting as a freshman, even though he didn't complete very many passes at all, he made it up for it in those explosive plays. It was kind of either like a boom or a bust like type of situation. Thankfully for Colorado this time around, there was more booms than busts this time, as Kennesaw State drops its first game of the year. Meanwhile, the Liberty Flames are going to be looking to defend their turf against a power conference opponent, as they'll be taking on the Baylor Bears. However, Liberty comes in as the better football team at home, and not to mention this Liberty team does happen to be ranked in the top 25 as well. So a big test here, you know. Really nice to see a team like Baylor, who did get to go to a bowl game last year. They did finish extremely strong in the 2024 campaign, come into our building for this non-conference matchup, one that Caden Salter and company is certainly excited about. But to begin the game, though, not a lot happening. It's only 3-0 after one quarter, but finally this game gets broken open a little bit here, as Jointer Jr. is going to take a run up the left-hand side, completely untouched, and it's going to get across the 20-yard line for a huge first down for the Liberty Flames, as they'll look to finally put points on the board for the first time today. Few plays later, Sauter looks over the middle, finds a receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Liberty! And the Flames are going to go ahead and put up another one on the board, as they'll go ahead and take a 7-3 lead against our visitors from the Big 12 in the Baylor Bears, able to connect with the senior wide receiver in Reese Smith. Now, Baylor will try to respond back after giving up the touchdown on the previous drive. Still throw to the left-hand side, but we got Ball Hawks in the secondary. And it's a big-time interception, possibly tilting the momentum even further in the hands of the folks here in the great state of Virginia. Liberty now with the lead and the ball as well, and they can make this lead even bigger. So we'll see what Caden Salter and company does as they go play action. But he's going to get... No! He does get lined up. He got away from one wimpy tackler, but he simply can't get away from a second one, no. And so that's going to be a massive sack. That's going to set them back tremendously, actually. One that will eventually force Liberty to settle for a field goal. But the kicker does end up being true in this regard. And so Liberty will extend their lead. Meanwhile, 2-minute warning has arrived as Caden Salter tries to get one more good drive together before the end of the half. And that's a big-time throw, kind of throwing it towards the back's shoulder, because that route was actually pretty well covered. Not really a lot that you can do there. as a DB, and he'll eventually set up a touchdown opportunity, which Salter will catch in on. That's his second touchdown of the day, and look who he ends up finding in the end zone once again. He finds himself Reese Smith, who is going to give Liberty a 17-3 lead right as we get into the halftime locker room. And yeah, man, this Liberty team certainly looking like a team that does need to be ranked in the top 25 for the long term. So it's been that kind of game here for Liberty, as nothing much happens after the halftime break, but late in the third quarter we do see another drive trying to spur up here as, Salter and company tries to get down the length of the field, as Salter will drop back, looks over to the right hand side and finds his man. Touchdown Liberty. And with that being said, the Liberty Flames get another good one on the scoreboard, and Reese Smith is just having himself a day. That's his third touchdown. He's going to be living in the dreams and nightmares of the Baylor coaching staff for a long time, I would imagine. So much so that I'm actually surprised that Liberty is blowing out Baylor right now. I'm going to keep it real with you. I expected this game to be a little bit more on the competitive side, but we're actually trending a little bit closer to possibly seeing backups in the game, or at least simming out early, as Sawyer Robertson's trying to make something shake here, but gets brought down in the backfield as Liberty is going to force another third down stop. However, I would imagine that this Baylor squad is absolutely going to go for it, because they have nothing to lose with 9:30 left to play in the game. So Sawyer's going to drop back. He's got some time. Plenty of time in the pocket, actually. He's going to fire downfield, and it's caught. First down for Baylor, and it's a massive one. Nearly getting it down to the goal line as well, but they will have a elongated goal line situation instead. One that they will be able to take care of, as a few plays later on a 3rd and goal, Baylor's going to finally score. Baylor will finally get in the end zone. It only took them a substantially massive part of the game, but Baylor eventually gets it done with 7:38 left to play in the game. They do, in fact, finally find the end zone, as a freshman, Joseph Dobbs, is going to handle things from there. But we'll also see this Baylor team go for the 2-point conversion. They're down by 18 right now, and so they're trying to get this 2-point conversion to happen as soon as possible, as Robertson wants to try to scramble for it. But he is, based on what I just saw there, he is certainly not a scrambling quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. And then on top of that as well, yeah, there was nowhere to run with the ball, so Baylor is still going to find itself down by 3 possessions. So a lot of work for Sawyer Robertson if they want to pull out the comeback of the century. But hang on now. Wait a minute. Baylor does get another touchdown on the board. That's going to cut the deficit down to 12. And we'll see if Baylor opts to try for the 2-point conversion again. It would bring the field goal back into play if they want to go for the 2-point conversion, but they don't decide to do that. And so the comeback trail stops cold after that. They just go ahead, they run out the rest of the clock, even get like a random field goal in there. Caden Salter plays really well in this one, 209 yards, 3 touchdowns. Completion percentage is actually pretty efficient, passing for almost 66% completion percentage, so very efficient today, as Liberty will get a pretty nice win here at home against Baylor. Meanwhile, Sam Houston will keep things rolling here, taking on an Air Force Falcons team, which on paper should match up somewhat well, right? And of course, we know how disciplined the military academies are, because even though they may not be made up of blue chip recruits, or they don't even have a chance of getting a blue chip recruit in their lifetime, at the same token, though, what we will see is that, hey, this is a team that is not going to hurt itself They're going to try to win the time of possession. So Sam Houston, even though they may have better athletes, they might have better game speed than his Air Force team, could be in for quite a challenge, especially if Air Force can get that triple option attack going early. As we'll go ahead and cut it to late into the first quarter. Sam Houston only up by 3 at the moment, as Hunter Watson is going to go ahead and hand it off to the tailback, and the tailback is going to get skinny down there by the goal line and fall the blocks into the end zone. Touchdown Sam Houston, as his Bearcat squad seeks to go 3-0, while Air Force is just simply trying to get into that win column for the very first time. And so the sophomore DJ McKinney is going to find the end zone there. Nice job by the backup. However, Air Force has a chance to tie with 4 minutes left in the half. Looking to step up in the pocket. Is going to try to run for the end zone and gets it. Doesn't flip in the end zone. Might have been a little bit on the late side. So I'm actually surprised that's not considered like an excessive, like unnecessary roughness penalty or an unsportsmanlike something, but no flag. But Quentin Hayes, the junior quarterback for this Falcons squad, well, he does end up finding the end zone there. So it's kind of what we expected, expected it to be at least like a pretty close game through the half. But then in the second half, we really start to see Sam Houston wake up, as Hunter Watson is going to deliver a bomb on the post, and that receiver just gets by everybody and their mama as well. Touchdown Bearcats once again, as Quavez Humphreys, the senior wide receiver, uses his experience on the post and gets through on the cover 2. Now, with that being said, later on in the third quarter of action, Sam Houston with a chance to blow this game wide open, and they do! Touchdown Sam Houston. They put another one up on the board, and Sam Houston looking to dominate here in this second half, and they're certainly living up to that. Coming out in this second half with 17 unanswered, as Simeon Evans was able to burn not just one defender, but 2 defenders. He burned the corner and the safety, and so Sam Houston trying to make this an even 21-point margin. They are going to go for the 2-point conversion. Watson looking calmly in the pocket, fires, and it's going to be incomplete, broken up at the last moment. So hopefully that does not sting the Bearcats in the butt. But if it does, it would start right here with 13 minutes left to play. Now, because of what the score is and because of how Air Force typically runs their offense, I'm in a little bit of a danger zone here. This is not the kind of offense that Air Force typically likes to run, but the fullback, they will utilize the triple option, at least on this particular occasion, in order to find the end zone. Touchdown for Air Force, as Justin Carter, the junior fullback, able to find her way into the end zone. Not very many teams utilize the fullback anymore, let alone actually get a touchdown for said fullback. But with that being said, it seems like Hunter Watson in this passing attack is simply too much here in the second half, as the floodgates really start to open up, as Air Force simply cannot find a way to stop this Sam Houston squad. And that will lead to yet another touchdown, as Sam Houston is going to be able to go ahead and extend their lead back up. It becomes a 19, well actually, yeah, it's a 19-point affair once again, and it's not going to get any better. 2-minute warning here, so you think they're probably just going to run out the clock. Not necessarily, as John Gentry gets loose, nearly finds the end zone. I wonder if they're going to give John Gentry a shot at the end zone here with less than 2 minutes, or are they going to go ahead and just take the knee? I would personally do that, just so that we can, show some more respect for the troops. But this Sam Houston coaching staff, which is a brand new coaching staff, by the way, Adam Miller, brand new coach, comes from Utah State after he got fired from Utah State last year, is going to have Sam Houston run it into the end zone once again. Really brings that JV kind of personality to the team. And it's actually responding really well. Sam Houston wins convincingly, 49-17. And your player of the game is going to be John Gentry, who total rock a lot in this one. Had almost 40 carries, but also almost had 300 yards in the process. And yeah, John Gentry is absolutely the difference there. But now we'll go ahead and kick it back out east, where we'll go ahead and see Western Kentucky getting ready to kick things off here against Louisiana Tech. We get, starting to sprinkle in some conference games, but it's not like full-fledged conference action, at least not yet anyways. Should have an intriguing matchup here between the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech, as Louisiana Tech, actually both teams looking to earn their second win of the season. Western Kentucky trying to bounce back after being basically blown out by Liberty in the conference opener. So they'll be looking to get back in the win column for Conference USA action, as they do end up finding the end zone here. Touchdown for Western Kentucky, as the Hilltoppers will go ahead and get these first points on the board here, making it 7-0 midway through this first quarter of action. And so it was a nice little throw out to the sophomore Marvin Sims, as Marvin Sims was able to get open on that mesh pattern, utilizing that athleticism, and frankly gets untouched after that. Meanwhile, late in the first quarter of action, as Louisiana Tech drives down the field, trying to get that response on the board themselves, dropping back, looks over the middle of the field, and finds a man. Touchdown, Louisiana Tech, and the Bulldogs will respond in kind, as the Bulldogs will find themselves on the scoreboard yet again, as Marlon Jackson, nobody was around him. I don't know what coverage that was supposed to be, but it was very terrible coverage, let's be honest with ourselves. So we got ourselves a tie ball game here, 7-all your score, as Western Kentucky, they're going to be looking to get back on the scoreboard yet again, and they will, as the Hilltoppers find the end zone once more. Touchdown, Western Kentucky, in this one. Looks like it's going to go to Ellis. That might be the tight end. It's hard to tell nowadays, but yes, it is the tight end, River Helms, who is not really related to Gunnar Helm, who plays wide receiver at Texas. But what I will say is that River Helm does give Western Kentucky the lead, and we'll be looking to build on it here midway through this second quarter, as they throw to the left-hand side. What a dot! What a dot to Easton Messer, who is having a big first half here so far. 5 catches, 78 yards, and it helps set up Western Kentucky with a field goal opportunity, which will be up through the uprights, and it is, in fact, going to be good. And so Western Kentucky again going to go ahead, and they will extend the lead. And at least, while they're not absolutely blowing out Louisiana Tech, they are at the very least going to come out here, and they will in fact come out and get another score on the board. So like they aren't blowing them out, but they're keeping them at arm's length. Just don't mind my brain farts, all that. But Demeek Sterling is able to take advantage of a brain fart in the secondary. This was just a little bit too easy. So much space there on the outside, and really a good space of mind by Caden Weidkamp as well, to make that a bullet pass and not trying to put too much air under it, because it doesn't give the safety enough time to respond. And so the speed ends up taking over after that, and we got ourselves a 27-10 lead. The Hilltoppers looking pretty good, but that doesn't mean this Louisiana Tech team is not going to give up without a fight. Adam Lamar, the senior, is going to be able to get home and bring down the lumber, as the senior is able to go ahead, and they will make it 3rd and 17. We'll see what they can do here on this 3rd and 17 opportunity, as Weidkamp again facing a little bit of pressure, but is going to find Messer down the sideline. And Messer is going to go off here as well. He now has over 100 yards on the day. And again, it does end up setting up a Western Kentucky field goal, and that will make it a 30-10 ball game. So because this is a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter, Western Kentucky's lead should be safe hypothetically, but this is a crazy sport of college football, man, so you never know what can happen. However, 8 minutes left here. Caden Veinkamp is going to be sacked, and that is possibly going to take Western Kentucky not necessarily out of field goal range, but will make the field goal kick a little bit more difficult. I mean, yes, we just saw the guy make a field goal earlier, as that's a really nice sack by the senior free safety, Jakari Foster. But with that being said, though, 4th and long. This looks like to be about a 46-yard field goal. Certainly not a gimme, but is able to lace it through the uprights. As Western Kentucky is going to come out, they put another field goal up on the board, hopefully creating some distance between them and this Louisiana Tech team that they are playing in conference play. As now 33-10 is your score with less than 5 minutes left. And at this point, Bulldogs are just trying to get some garbage time points, as they might have found something here late in the ball game. A deep throw over to the left-hand side, setting up Nelson Bullock over for a quick touchdown. Does it probably change the outcome of the game? Most likely not. Louisiana Tech is probably still going to lose this game. But what this game at least does, though, is, at least build some confidence going into the latter parts of the season. You definitely love to see that, as Shaq Atkins, the sophomore wide receiver, was able to find a soft spot in the zone and able to box out his defender. And so Louisiana Tech, after that, is going to go for the 2-point conversion. They have a chance to cut this down to a 15-point game. We'll see if Bullock can find some space on the outside, and they don't. It was thrown out of bounds. And so Western Kentucky ends up winning 33-16, ends up being your final score. So the Hilltoppers finally do get their first win in conference play, as Veinkamp does throw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Had to come up with that kind of performance, as the Hilltoppers did end up struggling to run the ball a little bit. Now, with that being said, we'll see Mid-Tennessee State now go on the road to take on the Nevada Wolfpack. And so far, it seems like we have had our number against the Mountain West during the course of non-conference play. We saw both Sam Houston and UTEP, for example, beat Utah State earlier in this season and in this episode as well. In the meantime, though, what we will see now is, can our conference go for, against the Mountain West thus far in this iteration of non-conference action, as our boys in the Blue Raiders making the field trip all the way out to Reno, Nevada for this non-conference football game. As we'll jump in late in the first quarter of action, we will see Nevada get on the scoreboard first, able to find a quick slant pattern open into the end zone for a touchdown. And so that does end up giving the Nevada Wolfpack squad a 7-3 lead after a successful extra point, as Marcus Billiam was able to win on his one-on-one. Not a great throw, but hey, it doesn't matter, though. You're still able to get those points on the board, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. As now we'll go ahead and see this Blue Raider offense go to work, which has seen some signs of life, which I've actually been pleasantly surprised about, given the transfer of Nicholas Vitalo in the transfer portal this past offseason. That's because Luther Richardson, he seems like he is, in fact, the real deal. He's been given his opportunity after sitting behind Vitalo last season, and he's certainly making the most of those chances, getting those big plays like that. Just got to do a little bit better of a job finishing drives, and that's why Mid-Tennessee State is 0-2 right now. But when you're scored from almost this far out, that makes it a whole lot easier to finish those drives, because now, listen, we need 3 yards and 3 plays. That should be easy money, and sure enough, it was, as we have a walk-in touchdown to allow Mid-Tennessee State to get its very first lead of the ball game. So the Blue Raiders will finally take the lead midway through the second quarter of action, as Millbrook was able to take the carry and take it down to the left-hand side for a quick and easy touchdown. As now Mid-Tennessee State with a 13-7 lead, and could extend that lead even further, as Luther Richardson and company was gifted some really good field position after Nevada does go free and out, but they put the ball on the ground. Oh no, what are they doing? They had momentum in their hands, and look what they managed to do with it. Nevada breaking out the trident. I didn't even know that was their turnover celebration. That's freaking cool. But Nevada is only able to get a field goal off of that turnover, but late in the fourth quarter of action, we'll finally see some scoring happening as the Wolfpack will retake the lead with the last 12 minutes left to play in this battle between Nevada and this Middle Tennessee State squad. As now Nevada seeking to go 2-0. Just a few minutes away from doing that as Austin Hayes finds the corner. And that's just great blocking on the outside. However, Luther Richardson decides to go into demon mode here, firing to the left-hand side, puts some beautiful touch on that ball, and he's gone! Like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Blue Raiders! And Mid-Tennessee State is gonna retake the lead. And how about that? Sherman able to get behind the defense for that long ball. And you know what they say, at least for those that remember the NCAA 14 Road to Glory. Chicks dig the long ball. And that goes for both sides, as Sherman gives the Blue Raiders the lead. We'll see if Nevada can come up with an answer, as it seems like they put together a methodical drive to answer back, but can they finish with points? And they do. Finding a man in the corner of the end zone, as once again Nevada is back out in front. As the Wolfpack retake the lead, and after a successful extra point, the Blue Raiders are going to have to really utilize those free timeouts in order to make something shake here in this final minute of the game. Here we go. 1st and 10 with 52 seconds left. Richardson moving to the right-hand side, but gets sacked. He's brought down, and that means it's going to be 4th and long. Living on a prayer. Can Richardson deliver? Deep shot to Sherman. Running away from the Wolfpack secondary. Touchdown, Blue Raiders. And Mid-Tennessee State is back ahead as they get another one on the board. Oh my goodness, did we have, you gotta think the ESPN like win probability chart is probably looking like a heart monitor in a hospital right now, because it is slaying like crazy at the moment. Blue Raiders might have done enough to win this one, but it all comes down to the final play of the game. We're on the 45-yard line, so definitely not in field goal range. Looks like this last play is going to be a Hail Mary. Given some time, able to wind up, firing downfield, down by the goal line, and it's dropped. It ends up being deflected away as Mid-Tennessee State is going to travel all the way across the continental United States and take down the Nevada Wolfpack, led by Javante Sherman. And with that being said, the Blue Raiders are successful and finally conjuring up the very first win of the season to improve to 1-2, while Nevada, well, they're going to be dropping their very first game of the season. All right, so that means we have one more game in this super week here in week number 3 of the 2025 season, as it is New Mexico State traveling also across the country, but instead of going east to west, they'll go west to east, as we'll follow our Conference USA counterparts. They will make the trip to Bloomington, Indiana, to take on an Indiana Hoosiers team that was successful in making the college football playoff last season and receiving a ton of hype here in the 2025 campaign as well, as they will come out and they will be ranked number 7 in the country. So we'll see what New Mexico State can do. We already saw a couple of Power 4 matchups within our conference not ending very well, though Kennesaw State fared a little bit better. Maybe 3rd time's the charm in terms of finding a major upset, as New Mexico State, they're actually putting together a pretty solid initial drive, matter of fact, and that will set up the Aggies for really a 39-yard field goal attempt here in some questionable weather conditions, and stop the count because New Mexico State is actually ahead of the number 7 team in the nation, but we'll see how much longer that lasts. But it turns out that we are actually like putting together something pretty good here. Indiana getting stopped defensively, forcing a punt, but then why am I showing special teams? Because sometimes special things happen, and sometimes especially dumb things happen as well. We got a running into the kicker penalty on this. Actually, no, it's a roughing the kicker, so it ends up being a 15-yarder. And while Indiana doesn't pick up any more first downs after that, it puts Indiana in field goal range. The kick is good, and so that special teams mishap does cost us 3 points, and so we have a tie ball game once again. Late in the first quarter, though, the Aggies are back out onto the field, and finding a big man downfield is Parker Amaro is going to be able to put it on the money for his star receiver on the outside. And don't look now, but once again, the Aggies are putting together a drive. Can they finish it, though? They had to stall out last time out. They were deep in Indiana territory, but they don't get there. They're going to be short of the first down marker, and you would think that they would go for it, being as they are a massive road underdog. But they actually settle for field goal there. They simply take the points. And while it's a low-scoring game right now, I'm sure that anything could be possible. It's only a matter of time before Indiana opens things up offensively. Granted, the Aggies are doing a tremendous job thus far as a dot over the middle, as that will eventually lead to a goal line situation here. Indiana finally with a chance to find the end zone, but the people of New Mexico State are going to be able to hold things down on the goal line, and that is going to eventually force another field goal attempt. This is the tie of the game here early in the second quarter of action, and it is good. So the game is still tied up. Now getting deeper into the second quarter, and don't look now, but this New Mexico State team, well, they're starting to certainly believe right about now. Here we go, jumping into the second half of action. Indiana was able to, in fact, find a way to get another field goal. So they actually were able to get the lead for the first time today. It's now 4th and short coming up. Parker fires over the middle, finds a receiver, picks up the first down, and then some as well, as that will get the Aggies into the red zone, as they'll go ahead and run it up the right-hand side, but diving into the end zone. Touchdown, Aggies! And New Mexico State is going to be able to put another one up on that scoreboard right about now. Mike Washington able to go ahead and dolphin dive into the end zone. Took a while to make it happen, but we finally have our first touchdown of the game. And again, New Mexico State has the lead for the time being, but it might not last much longer. Down the field, is anyone gonna catch him? Heck no. I told you it was only a matter of time before Indiana was gonna respond. And boy, did Sarette find that response. Getting it on just a simple tunnel screen of all things, man. Absolutely crazy work. Elijah Sarette just following his blockers, and then right after that, I mean, it's barbecue chicken. Like, once he got past number 0, it was over. It was off to the races. New Mexico State does not have anyone to match up with that particularly young man's athleticism for sure. So with that being said, now New Mexico State has the lead, or not the lead, but they're actually down. So this is a big inflection point here in this ball game, as this is a big moment here. You know, if you don't come out here and pick up points on this particular drive, Indiana can open it back up, and they can quickly show why they are in fact coming in as a preseason top 10 team in the nation. And while the drive ended up stalling out courtesy of having that big sack in the backfield, they do eventually respond. They get that field goal up on the board once again. And so it's now going to be 16-all here late in this third quarter of action. been a pretty busy affair here for both kickers, as both teams have used their kicker 3 times. We'll see who ends up making that bigger play offensively, as that could be one right there, setting up a goal line situation, leading us into the 4th quarter. Here we go, 15 minutes left to play. Can New Mexico State punch it in? They do! Touchdown, New Mexico State, and the Aggies are back ahead once again. How about this? This New Mexico State squad really filing deep into their souls in order to gut one out, and they surely do here. They will actually mess around and hang on to defeat the number 7 team in the nation. The Indiana Hoosiers go down 23-16. Ends up being your final score, as Mike Washington does end up scoring both touchdowns for the Aggies, as this was a game that did not have very much offense. Neither team accomplished like 400 yards or was able to put up more than 10 points in a single quarter, but a great win. Alright, man, so we know that there was at least one really big upset that happened in college football. But with that being said, we wanted to take a quick look around the country to see if there was any other major muscle movements. And it looks like in light of Indiana losing, there were some teams that did benefit. Tennessee, who didn't look great in their FCS matchup, they move up a couple of spots. Missouri, who was on bye, moved up 2 spots. LSU, who looked a lot better than Tennessee did, they move up 3 spots. I would argue them over Tennessee at this moment. And then Cal jumps into the top 10 with a 10-point win against Minnesota, with SMU rounding out your top 10. Meanwhile, outside the top 10, Kansas State moves up 3 spots. Nebraska is up 4. Ole Miss moves up a couple of spots. Texas A&M down 9 spots after a 2-point loss on the road to the Fighting Irish. They move down 9 spots because of that. Clemson is at number 15. They got a 10-point win over Syracuse. Washington does win the Apple Cup against Washington State. Ohio State barely ekes one out against Ohio. Penn State moves up 4. Pitt moves up 4 spots as well. And your Liberty Flames do get to move up 4 spots as well. And then there was a few other teams that did end up joining the top 25. Utah is ranked once again. They are number 21 in the nation. Indiana is still hanging on by a thread after the tough loss to New Mexico State. And then Florida and Arizona State does enter the top 25. But taking a quick look to see if there is anyone else from our conference that is receiving votes, and it looks like at this time there is no one else in the Conference USA that is receiving votes. So Liberty is still the only team in this conference that is still going to be ranked inside the top 25 this early in the season. With that being said, though, we actually do have a National Player of the Week within our conference, and it's Dylan Frazier. The defensive tackle for Sam Houston put up a pretty big performance in the blowout victory against Air Force. Frazier was instrumental. He had 3 sacks in the ballgame with 10 tackles as well. But the Offensive Player of the Week does go to Kylish Hicks, a wide receiver out of UConn, and definitely needed all those touchdowns because UConn did not look great in their performance against FCS Midwest. In terms of our Offensive Player of the Week, it is going to be provided to Javonte Sherman, the wide receiver out of Mid-Tennessee State. He had 4 catches for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that does include the game-winning touchdown against Nevada to allow them to even get their first win of this season. Hopefully it's a springboard for the Blue Raiders. Alright guys, so we are going to go ahead and take a quick look at what to expect here next week, or in the next episode I should say. And there's definitely a possibility here of getting 2 weeks in one episode, because looking at the week 4 slate, really is only 4 nationally televised games of note. Liberty, they are going to continue their conference play against UTEP. UTEP does open up after a blowout loss against Texas. Marshall is going to go on the road to take on Mid-Tennessee State, and the Blue Raiders can try to get their first winning streak of the season, taking on an undefeated Marshall squad as well. Louisiana Tech is playing Southern Miss, but that's going to be regionally televised. Kennesaw State is playing an FCS team, so nothing too crazy here. Sam Houston, undefeated Sam Houston, taking on 1-1 Florida State. Now, Sam Houston has not lost a single game this season, but I expect that Florida State would be the favorite. However, we do get the Seminoles at home, so that'll be in a rocking environment in Huntsville, Texas. And then the last nationally televised game of week number 4 is going to be Jacksonville State hosting Ohio. This was actually a bowl game in real life from last year, but programs are going 2 different directions. Jacksonville State, they're coming in a little bit of a surprise early on in the season with that 3-0 start, while Ohio struggling out the gate. They are 0-3. And then if we do end up doing a week number 5, this is what the week 5 slate ends up looking like. Definitely am intrigued by this Ohio State and Western Kentucky matchup right here, because Upton Stout, who was on Western Kentucky last season, did enter transfer portal, is part of that Ohio State squad. So that is certainly going to be a game to watch here moving forward. And then we do have the Rio Grande rivalry as well, which is kind of interesting. But that's gonna end things here in this episode. We had a lot of games to watch over in this one. It was certainly a fun one to see unfold right before our eyes. But with that being said, next episode we will get through weeks number 4 and 5, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. If you do, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is JohnJake Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.